because today is what they call Orphan Sunday. And I typically, I kind of am opposed to the term of Orphan Sunday. If you would put the picture on the screen for everyone to see. Yeah. All right. So the handsome young lad in the middle is me. So I like to call today Adoption Sunday. And it's really close to my heart. And let me say this. If my life were a Hallmark movie, Hallmark would probably say, really? Is this really true? My parents are the two there. I'm sitting in the middle. And at this point in their life, they had raised 5 children. My mother, which I always have to guess her age because she never would tell me. So she's probably like in her 50s at that point, or when I was born. My dad was 65 when I was born. And the last 2 children were in college. Okay, so that's giving you context, right? So they should be embracing a quiet home, retirement, booking cruises and things like that. And they say, you know what would be fun? Let's adopt a newborn. But it wasn't just any newborn. I had a really complicated start to life. I was born with drugs in my system. And so I was greeted with a lineup of doctors that basically were ready to give a reality check and listed all the reasons why I was deficient. To expect the worst. I got to see the actual report that said things like he's going to struggle academically, he's going to struggle socially. The outcome looked really bleak when I read the report. It would be an uphill marathon in flip-flops, if you want to give an image for it. The odds were stacked against me. After I was born, 8 days later, my biological mom took me to the emergency room because I wouldn't eat and I wouldn't stop crying. And then I was put into emergency placement, into foster care. And these 2 people here were foster parents. And they got a call and basically said, can you just watch this child for a few days? Just a few days. Until we find a permanent placement for him. And what happened was I went from being an emergency placement to being their son. They didn't hesitate. They saw a child, not a diagnosis. They saw potential, not a prediction. They chose hope over statistics. Now, I can't say that I made things easy for them, okay? Many of us have seen people who are addicted to drugs, so imagine an infant that is born with addiction in their system, okay? The constant crying. And then, as I got older, my report cards were something like a weather report. Some days really good, some days really stormy, mostly cloudy with a chance of improvement. And then the thing about me was that I was very inquisitive and asked a lot of why questions. My mom used to always say, Patrick was the only one that asked why to everything. The answer was, because we said so was never good enough. It was, but why? Why? But they kept going. I kept them on their toes, and they showed up day after day through the mess, through the mystery, the moments that made no sense to anyone else. Why? Because that's what love does. Love steps in, and it says you matter. But this isn't just my story. It's a living picture of the heart of God. If we listen to the words written in Isaiah chapter 1:17, it says, learn to do right, seek justice, defend the oppressed, take up the cause of the fatherless, plead the case of the widow. And again, it's encapsulated in James chapter 1, verse 27. Religion that God our Father accepts as pure and faultless is this: to look after orphans and widows in their distress, and to keep oneself from being polluted by the world. So when we say orphan, I'm philosophically opposed to that because I don't consider myself an orphan. I'm opposed to it because, one, God is creator. And so no creation of God is an orphan. But two, if we are the followers of Jesus, who is the living embodiment of God, and we say we follow him, and as disciples, we should be doing the work that is required of us, that God speaks of in Isaiah and then reiterates it in James. It's not a suggestion for the spiritually elite or the people with empty nests or spotless homes. It's a call for us to move beyond rituals and Sunday routines and to live a life filled with compassion and justice of Jesus. Now, maybe you're thinking right now, Patrick, this is all inspiring. This is really good. I don't think I could do what your parents did. I don't think I could adopt or foster. Feels huge. And guess what? I get it. I understand that because it is huge. Not everyone is called to open their homes, but every one of us is called to open our hearts. And that might look like mentoring children or mentoring adults, because oftentimes we think of orphan as child, but sometimes it's adults that need a father or a mother figure too. Mentoring, supporting our foster families, volunteering, speaking up for kids, or simply asking, how can I help? And here's the wild part. God loves to surprise us. And my parents thought their parenting days were done. But then, on May 11th, they got a phone call, and that all changed. And so, if you would ask them, was it worth it? I think they would smile and say it was. Because love always is. So today, here's my challenge to you. Don't just listen, step forward. In the Welcome Center, there are these cards, or these papers. For the next 7 days, there are different things that you can pray about when it comes to the foster care system, orphanage, or mentorship, or whatever that may look like for every single one of us in here. But I am going to ask this, that we just don't pray about it, but we do as well. And whatever way that looks like for you, you do it and follow God. And who knows how God may surprise you. Maybe you might get the phone call on a random Tuesday in an emergency, and that child or that person ends up changing your entire life.